Hello, this is Hiker Paul with you on this trek across America. Today is Tuesday, June 6, 2023, and do a little 360 here. Farm country, but it's hillier, running into a lot more hills, more horse country, more cattle because of the hills. So I am officially in Illinois. So I transitioned out of the state of Indiana into the state of Illinois. So yesterday I went through a little town, well, not real little, but town of, I believe it was Lowell. And just a shout out to a few people there. One lady I spoke to in a white van who talked about following me and hello. And then there was a lady and a young fella at Dee's Corner. And the young fella had a picture taken with me with the cart, and you know what, that was cool. So very cool. So shout out to you. And then I believe it was CJ at the Lube Center in there. Shout out to you. And then also to Tim there that provided lunch and 2 bottles of water. That was very much appreciated, and we had some time to talk, and he's planning to go on for a master's program, and I wish him well in that. So thanks for your hospitality and wish you well in your future academic pursuits. Yesterday I walked about 15, 16 miles, and they were very difficult miles because my feet hurt so much. Normally doing 15 miles wouldn't be a problem, but with my feet hurting, doing 15 steps was a big deal. Anyway, towards the latter part of the afternoon, a fella stopped by and said, "Hey, I saw you I saw you earlier," and he brought me 2 bottles of cold water and said, "Here." That was so refreshing, and it was very thoughtful of him. And then as we talked, he said, "Yeah, you know, it sounds like you're going my direction. If you want to throw your tent up in my yard, go ahead." So I navigated my way to his place and tented there, and I appreciated his hospitality, Captain Victor and his wife Patience, and they served me dinner, which was really nice, very much appreciated, with some fresh fruit, which was really nice. So I want to thank you for the hospitality that you both extended, Captain and Patience. In fact, Captain, he's accustomed to being captaining boats. And he had one of these hot weather sweat scarves. So he gave me one of them, and also several battery banks to help recharge my electronics. So thank you very much, and a shout out again to both of you. So I'm onward and forward here, heading west. It's already getting warm. In terms of a quick introduction into the letter of Ephesians. So that is written by the Apostle Paul to the believers in the church in the city of Ephesus. Now some believe it was actually a letter that was circulated not just to Ephesus, but nonetheless it is Paul's letter to Ephesians. And it begins with Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God. And I'm going to do that in 2 parts. Excuse me, I'm going uphill, a little bit out of breath. I'm going to do that in 2 parts. And the first part I'd like to address is he says, Paul, an apostle. You know, I find it interesting in the world of church history, in the world of so many churches, we have all these titles: reverend, pastor, bishop, doctor, and all these titles. And, you know, I never see Jesus requiring that people call him by titles. All he did was serve and walk very humbly and took off his robe and washed the disciples' feet, was very humble. And Paul, in all his writings, I don't see anywhere where he requires a title of him. He declares a role that he walks in. See, he doesn't say, "This is Apostle Paul." He says, "This is Paul, an apostle." So he speaks merely of the role that he walks in, not some professional or some title that he feels like he would need. He doesn't do that, you know. Same way with like Peter when in the book of Acts, when he healed by the power of God someone, and they fell down and started worshiping him. And he said, "Oh, rise up." He said, "Man, don't do that. God healed you. I'm a man just like you." So he didn't have this air of like a superiority or anything like that. He was very humble, and I see that with Paul, very humble. So Paul was an apostle, but he didn't go by the title, but he functioned as an apostle. So if I'm a deacon, I'm not Deacon Paul, I'm Paul who functions as a deacon. If I'm a pastor, which I am, I'm not Pastor Paul, I'm a Paul who functions as a pastor, Lord willing. So I'm just not on board with all these titles. I don't think the Apostle Paul was either. So that's the first thing I take note as I begin the letter of Ephesians, where it says, I think the one version says I, Paul, and another one says Paul. So Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ. And next time I will resume that about him being an apostle by the will of God. So until next time.